Projection. Many things in life are not so much out as they are forced out. You know, projection is the old of our worry, which brings about things to worry about. You know, things are given the nature of the mind, meaning that the world projects what our mind allows and what our subconscious distills into our mind's eye. Um, all that to say that a lot of what we do and what we see and how we perceive the world is really up to us. I understand that like some things are externally bound, some things are externally, ambiguous in nature. However, a lot is up to us. I feel like there are a lot of positive people who posit so much, optimistic realism into the world, I'll call it. And I feel like this is a much better route than, like realistic pessimism. Um, understanding that a lot of this world doesn't work in your favor, but still keeping that positive edge and allowing things to be, positive for you. Yeah, with optimistic, like realism, being able to realize that there are negative and positive things in this world. Some things have, a distinct connotation, but some things don't. And it's about, when things get ambiguous, when things are either one way or another. It's about choosing that positivity, choosing the correct path, allowing yourself to project, and instantiate positivity into your world rather than having it just be negative. Now, all last year, I wouldn't even say all last year, but there's definitely times where I'm feeling negative and, things happen and I just treat it as if, the world's against me. Like, you'll notice it in the way like people talk to you. You might be like, oh, why do they have attitudes towards me? Or why is this against me? But in reality, it probably has nothing to do with you. One, second off, they're probably not even expressing the tone like that. It's just the way at which we perceive it, the way at which we take it onto ourselves. I feel like once we get into those negative points, we expect to see more positivity. We think that, or at least in my humble opinion, when things start getting rough, when things start getting tougher, I start to expect more positivity in a way, like in a karmic sense, like things are looking rough, oh, I'm feeling sad. Something's bound to make me happy, but typically that does not work because once we're in that negative vibration state, whatever, that's what we tend to see. That's what becomes of the world that's around us. So it's about, choosing that positivity. It's about instantiating it, pushing it into the world rather than, even if it's not your fault, projecting negativity. It's really just a choice, and it's like the law of assumption. Assuming that things are positive, assuming that you have all these great things, and instantiating so much good, positive within yourself that things around you just become that. It's like people say like, oh, you attract what you fear, or you attract what you most desire. But I think that the real is like you attract what you are. You attract what you are to yourself. And I have always thought that we should treat ourselves like someone we're trying to help, because it's like it gets to a point where you're either pitying yourself or you idolize yourself. And with pitying yourself, with like, oh, I'm not good enough for this, oh, I can't do this, oh, I can't do that, you're not doing anything for yourself. It doesn't help to think like that in the slightest. And it's like Pascal's gamble. You believe one thing, good. You don't believe in it's false. That's also like a good. You need to have that kind of distinction and duality between it to allow yourself to be on that like positive vibration, rather than allow yourself to get bogged down within the negativity of many situations. It's much more beneficial to who we are to instill, confidence and almost like love for ourselves. How can one be calm while suffering? Who dictates the connotation? Pain hurts, but we do things that hurt us all the time. Like if we use exercise as an example, when you're working out, you're messing up your muscle fibers, you're tearing them, and that's why you feel sore and like the guy said and whatnot. But that's not a necessarily good feeling. But since we're putting that effort in and we're becoming better and we're working out to stay in shape, to get bigger, to get stronger, etc., etc. That kind of suffering towards a goal makes it a positive thing. It makes it feel better. Now, if you had to like run 3 miles for your track team or something, it might not feel good. It might not. But if you're doing it on your own accord, like that type of self-inflicted shackle that we put on ourselves, um, that's what makes it feel good. And I think I mentioned that in the last video, something about the only way to truly achieve freedom is to put a shackle on yourself, in a way. Like, freedom in like a real sense is somewhat unattainable. And who we are as people is not necessarily limited to how much strain we put on ourselves or how much strain we put on the world, but how we react to the strains and stressors of the world. And I said, to be free in the sense for concentration, while a self-shackle is the only way to achieve freedom. And I feel like that's just entirely true. Like, how that relates to projection, I would say, you know, putting the shackle on yourself to choose the positive. It's not always easy to go about life, you know, see the good in things and whatnot. And sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes you just want to be bogged down. And that's perfectly fine. I do it all the time. Sometimes you just choose, okay, you know, I'm going to sit here and feel that negativity today. And I don't find any issue with that. It's about how you move forward. It's about not staying in that state and continuing to move forward and allowing other positive things to come about. You know, it's the day after Thanksgiving when I'm dropping this. So it's about finding the things you can still be grateful for and finding the things that you can still positively feel good about, rather than allowing the negative aspects of your life to get to you. So there has to be like this distinction between like happy suffering and sad suffering. But what creates the distinction, you know? If it's external and overt, we suffer. Yet if it's done for the self or for the benefit of the self, many of us are apt to do so. Many of us are apt to subconsciously think that this is a positive thing. We choose subconsciously what happens and allow things to be problems of the mind, and also allow the mind to be the world around us. And that's what I think like true projection is. It's allowing your mind and your subconscious to start, I would say, flowing and filtering out into the real world. Allowing the stresses of your mind, your anxieties, to be the world around you, rather than allowing them to be within your head. And I know it probably doesn't seem like it, because I feel like a lot of us don't address what I've called this like the external nature of the internal world. Like how things happen within our subconscious, in our minds, and how we feel about ourselves is directly related to how we perceive things externally. To say like the mind, it becomes things externally, is to say that exactly how we feel and how we think the world is and how we accept the things around us, that's how they tend to be. You know, we could say it is what it is, things are et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, things are as we believe them to be. And I'm not saying that you could just be like, oh, I believe everything's good in life forever and everything will be good. But at the end of the day, it's about what makes you feel best. It's not about, you know, because like on the like spiritual journey and stuff, because I've dabbled in a lot of like research and a bunch of different religions and philosophies and whatnot. But I feel like the gist of it, the end goal for all of them, is to be a happier person, be a better person, and allow yourself to live life more stress-free. And I feel like that's just the point. So as much as it's about healing yourself, stopping projection and whatnot, it's about doing what makes you feel best, you know, within reason, of course. But it's about giving yourself that grace and that freedom to make the choice to, you know, move towards a happier life. And if that means, you know, dabbling in some negativity, as in like cutting people off or dealing with something, then sometimes that's just what you have to do. I don't think it's smart to allow the world to become the mind, or allow our mind to become the world around us, especially if we haven't really catered to it. With the external nature of the internal world, I think that's also like a sort of a push to get people to take care of themselves internally. Because I feel like a lot of us don't treat ourselves like we're trying to help ourselves. We treat each other like, or treat ourselves like someone we're just watching, someone we have no control over, but are directly impacted by. And then treating yourself like you actually want to help yourself, or like someone you want to help, it kind of clicks something else in our brain. Because I feel like a lot of us feel empathy towards like people we love, our friends, family, and whatnot. Like if my brother came up and he needed help with something, I'd help him. My friend came up, I'd help him, and I'd be happy to do so. It wouldn't feel like I'm doing this, so I have to help them, or like all that effort that if we feel when we're trying to help ourselves. And I feel like that's also a matter of perspective. I feel like self-love at the end of the day is being friends with yourself. Realizing that you're a whole person in this world, and the only person that's here for you 100% of the time and 100% can is going to be yourself at the end of the day. So it's about, projecting the good, projecting what you want, rather than projecting, what you don't. Because I feel like that fear, that anxiety also causes us to project that into the world. We see that in like insecurities, because I definitely dealt with that a lot in my past, but it's like we see the worst parts of ourselves in the world around us instead of the best parts. That's because we focus on the negative. It's the stuff we don't try to see, the stuff we always acknowledge. We don't hardly acknowledge our positive features or our positive whatnot, but I feel like we should. It's about instantiating more positivity, realizing the positive things that are in your life rather than allowing things to project outwards.